Well, hi, everybody. I'm Don Stewart, and welcome to our second edition of Breaking News today. This is Wednesday. It is the 9th day of July, 2025. We could call this the late edition of Breaking News. Actually, it's been a very busy day and a frustrating one. I did a second edition of Breaking News earlier in the day, about 2 hours after the first edition of Breaking News early this morning. It was from the website Virtual Jerusalem, and it's a story about what happened last night. We finally got some news, what happened with Prime Minister Netanyahu and his meeting at the Oval Office with Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. And basically, the story went something like this: that Netanyahu made it clear that Israel would not compromise on anything. And after telling Vance and Trump that, he decided to fly back last night from Washington to Jerusalem, but no fanfare, no interviews, no handshakes, nothing at the airport. And Bibi is a hero for standing up to these two American leaders. Well, it was a great sounding story, but it was nothing but fake news. So I had to take it down soon after I put it up, and I'll never use that website, Virtual Jerusalem, again. There's another story yesterday how China had supplied Iran with a new air defense system. I asked our Iranian friend Nader about it. He said, Don, that's fake news. So it seems that a large portion of the stories have been floating around on various so-called news websites are nothing but fake news. In fact, there was actually a story I was about to do yesterday that explained how Iran has been using fake news all along during the recent war with Israel and thereafter. It's called Without Firing a Single Shot, Iran's Propaganda War to Destroy Israel from Within. It's a YNET story, and it's a very excellent account of what is going on in the cyber world. Now, here's the bottom line. We have to be careful about what we read and what we believe. And that's why here we always start with the Bible. And our whole thesis here on breaking news, we know what's eventually going to happen in the future. The Bible tells us there's going to be some great events taking place, culminating in the second coming of Jesus Christ to the world. In fact, we've written a book called Look Up, a timeline of 50 last days events, where we go through all these events that the scripture predicts. So a lot of things that are still going to happen. This we know is going to take place in the future. Now, when they're going to take place, how exactly they're going to take place, we don't know, but we know we're going to get there sooner or later. Again, we don't know the circumstances of how or when, but we know they will occur. In the meantime, there's many things, like we said, that are still to take place, and we look forward to them. But as we're moving towards the second coming of Christ and the many events that will precede it, we have all these other things, that are daily stories that we need to deal with and look at, and that's what we do here on Breaking News. So the good news is, at least from the Bible, we know how everything will end up. In the meantime, we're trying to sort the wheat from the chaff here and get to the stories that are really true. Now, the reason I was so late today, I actually recorded that thing from his channel I mentioned about. It's now Appendix 2 in our book, Look Up, a timeline of 50 last days events, where I've talked about that God has a plan for time and eternity. And we gave a number of points on this. And again, it's going to be on the website of his channel as their gift of the month. It belongs to them now. I did it for them. It was a long day going there, recording, coming back. So if my voice sounds a little raspy, that's the reason why. But now we're going to look at some stories, finally, that are not fake news. So let's get to them. Prime Minister Netanyahu, now we learn what he thinks. He says he's in sync with Trump on a hostage deal and won't agree to one at any price. This is from the Times of Israel. I guess this is what happened last night in the meeting with him and Trump and J.D. Vance. Donald Trump, for his part, said today Israel and Hamas are very close to a ceasefire and a hostage deal. This is from the Jerusalem Post. Now, a story that is very concerning here: murder at sea. The Houthis admit sinking a ship heading to Eilat. Eilat, of course, is in Israel. 4 people were killed, 15 still missing. This is a YNET story. And YNET has also this story, as we didn't have enough problems besides Yemen, besides Gaza. 8 months into the ceasefire, the Israeli Defense Force conducts focused ground operations in Lebanon against Hezbollah. All right, so let's look at these 4 stories and evaluate them in light of what the Bible says is going to happen at the time of the end of the age before the return of Christ. Number 1, Prime Minister Netanyahu says he's in sync with Trump on a hostage deal, won't agree to one at any price. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Wednesday that he and the U.S. President Donald Trump were in lockstep with their efforts to secure a hostage deal. in a seeming attempt to project unity with the United States amidst the ongoing ceasefire negotiations. The premier insisted that both he and Trump would not agree to a deal at any price, as the American president again suggested that a deal was close to being finalized. President Trump and I have a common goal. I want to achieve the release of our hostages. We want to end Hamas rule in Gaza. We want to make sure that Gaza does not pose a threat to anyone and to Israel anymore. Netanyahu told reporters this at the U.S. Capitol today on Wednesday before meeting with Senate Majority Leader John Thune. And so he also met with Pete Hegseth today, too, the Secretary of Defense. So he didn't leave, didn't go back to Israel. He's had meetings today with these two American leaders. So Netanyahu says we're together. We're same mind in all this. We're going to go forward, and we're working on a hostage deal, and we hope it'll come about. So that's from the horse's mouth, as it were. Now, headline number two: Trump says something very similar. Israel Hamas very close to ceasefire hostage deal. He said on Wednesday that Hamas and Israel are getting very close to a deal for a ceasefire and a hostage release in Gaza. This is from Jerusalem Post. Speaking at a White House press conference following a meeting with African leaders, Trump was asked about reports of behind the scenes progress in the negotiations. It's very possible, he said. I will tell you we're getting very close to a deal. I don't know if it's secret or not secret, but it doesn't matter to me. Secret's fine, he said, if it gets us where we want to be. We want to have a ceasefire. We want to have peace. We want to get the hostages back, and I think we're close to doing it. Now, meanwhile, hostage deal negotiations remain stalled. And this is the consistent story we're getting. But so-called signs of progress have emerged as Israel reportedly submitted a new proposal to Qatar addressing troop deployment in Gaza. And supposedly this has been the sticking point. Their original proposal where the troops would be deployed, basically where they're at now, did not bode well with Hamas. And they said, no, we want you to go back a few months to where you were. Particularly, there's a place called the Morag Corridor, which they established a few months ago. That is Israel, and Hamas says for a deal, we want you to go back to where you were before that. Okay, according to sources involved in the talks, Israel is willing to modify its troop presence along the corridor, which again is the key sticking point, or a key sticking point in the ongoing negotiations, and has presented new deployment maps during the meeting in Doha. Senior Israeli officials said the military will present this revised deployment framework to Prime Minister Netanyahu, who is expected to approve it. And the corridor basically is, in southern Gaza, and it's a focal point of the current round of ceasefire discussions. Now, the Hamas spokesman told Al Jazeera News that the group is showing significant flexibility in negotiations and has agreed, and here's the sad part, to release only 10 Israeli hostages in exchange for improved humanitarian aid access and a cessation of Israel military operations. He said Hamas continues, and here's the problem, to insist on two key conditions for any agreement: a full Israeli withdrawal from Gaza and a comprehensive end to hostilities. Well, that's not going to happen right now. A full or partial withdrawal from the Morag corridor would be seen by some Israeli officials as a strategic concession reminiscent of the 2024 Netzarim corridor deal, which allowed tens of thousands of Palestinians and many Hamas terrorists to return to Gaza City. So control of the Morag corridor is part of a broader effort to encircle Hamas's Rafah brigade and increase pressure on the group, so they will have to eventually, agree to some type of ceasefire. So bottom line of this is basically Hamas is insisting on Israel moving back further than where they're at right now. And it seems that they've agreed to do it for some type of peace deal. Now, whether that's smart or not remains to be seen. There's a lot of people out there that don't even like the idea, particularly, like we said, don't like the idea that only 10 hostages would be released. So 60 days from the day it starts, the hostage deal, when the time it ends, you still have at least 10 more if they're still alive by then, hostages that are there, which will no way ever be released by Hamas. We know that they're not going to release the last 10 unless Israel gets out of Gaza, declares the war over, and allows Hamas to remain in power. Again, something that will never happen. So basically, as many people have said, they're going to pick out, you need Solomon to choose this. You got 20 people who are still alive. 10 of them will go. 10 will stay in Gaza. The 10 that stay will probably never live to see freedom again. It's a horrible situation, but this is where we're at right now. All right, headline number three: Murder at sea. The Houthis admit sinking a ship heading to Eilat. And Eilat, of course, is a port in Israel. 4 are killed, 15 still missing. The Yemeni terror group claims the Red Sea sinking of this Liberian flagged cargo ship, Eternity Sea, with mostly Filipino crew. U.S. calls for immediate release. Yemeni Houthi rebels said on Wednesday they claim responsibility for sinking the cargo ship Eternity Sea, and that's the letter C, by the way, in the Red Sea 2 days earlier, asserting that was en route to the Israeli port of Eilat. 4 people were killed in the attack. Rescuers pulled 6 crew members alive from the Red Sea on Wednesday, while 15 were listed missing. Uh, 4 of the 25 aboard the Eternity Sea were killed on the spot before the rest abandoned the vessel, which sank on Wednesday. The Houthis, on their part, claimed that their navy rescued several crew members from the ship, provided them with medical treatment, and transferred them to a safe location. However, the United States accused the Iranian-aligned group of kidnapping the seafarers. So the U.S. Embassy, of course, in Yemen condemned the Houthi attack on the ship. After killing their shipmates, sinking their ship, and hampering rescue efforts, the Houthi terrorists have kidnapped many surviving crew members of the Eternity Sea. The embassy said in a statement it called for their immediate and unconditional safe release. Now, herein lies the problem. This week's attacks have reunited global concern over a possible full-scale resumption of the Houthis' maritime assault campaign. Now, remember, the strikes that have happened just recently follow a 2-month pause that was widely linked to an informal ceasefire with the United States President Donald Trump, who said in May that he had ordered a halt to the U.S. airstrikes on Houthi targets after weeks of attack, stating that the Houthis don't want to fight. Though they had only promised to stop targeting American vessels, attacks on all ships had ceased since mid-April until now. So here we go again. Remember, the Houthis are a proxy of Iran. So this is Iran behind all of this, lest we forget. So we got that problem. Now, if that's not enough, how about headline number 4? 8 months into the ceasefire, the IDF conducts focused ground operation in Lebanon against Hezbollah. This is from YNET News. Military says operations against the terror infrastructure underscore ongoing efforts to enforce ceasefire and prevent groups' reenactment along the border. The U.S. Reentrenchment along the border. The IDF's focus has returned to Gaza, but mostly aerial operations in Lebanon persist, keeping pressure on Hezbollah to disarm. Nearly 8 months after the northern ceasefire, the IDF released footage today, Wednesday, documenting the destruction of Hezbollah's terror infrastructure in southern Lebanon. The IDF said in a statement that troops undertake precise missions to prevent the Shiite terror group from reestablishing a foothold based on intelligence and identification of weapons and infrastructure across various areas of southern Lebanon. So, Gaza, which has Hamas, Lebanon, Hezbollah, Yemen, the Houthis. The war continues. And of course, Iran and Israel could flare up at any moment. So we've got war on all fronts here. Now, as we have emphasized in our book, 25 Signs Are Near the End, sign number 7, there will be a continual search for peace in Israel, continual search for peace. And we see this sign fulfilled every single day. It's been the issue with Israel since May 14th, 1948, when the modern state of Israel was reborn. It's one of our 25 signs. We're near the end. And again, this book is a free download from our website, Educating Our World, under the heading of Bible Prophecy. So the fighting continues. Gaza, Lebanon, Yemen, and of course, possibly in Iran breaking out again too. So there's never a dull moment here, never a stop, and we'll give you the latest when we get it. And so thank you for your patience, for supporting us, for praying for us. We'll continue to give you the latest news, and we'll do our best to avoid all these fake news stories on these various websites. I'm Don Stewart, and until tomorrow morning, may the Lord continue to richly bless you.